Oh my God, we did it. We did it. We did it. This is episode number 45, on the road, in the waves, and on the other side. With me, your host, Paul Carpenter. And today I have a great friend of mine, somebody I've been wanting to share with you guys all over because this young lady is absolutely amazing and she's doing crazy awesome things in this world right now. So I really want to share this with you guys. I am going to get her to be here any second right now. Trying to change this really quickly. For some reason it's not. Oh, that's why I don't want that one. I want this one. And we're going to edit the post, make it public. That way all of your comments will come through. And now, my friends, I bring to you onto the stage Camila. Here she is. I'm excited to have her. There she is. How you doing, my dear?
I'm doing wonderful, Paul. It's really beautiful to see you. I'm glad we got this up and running, going.
Yeah, man, me too. We were supposed to have the show recently, and unfortunately, I think, where are you, by the way?
Right now, I'm in Xela, Guatemala.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what are you doing out there? Well, before we go there, let's do this. Camila, thank you for coming on to the show. I really, truly appreciate you. With that being said, Camila, who are you? Where do you come from? And what do you do? Let us know. Fill us in.
I've been waiting forever for you to ask me. No, I'm kidding. Well, my name is Camila Alejandra Wilson, and my mom is from Guatemala. So I was here visiting family in Retaoleo, which is a coastal town right next to the Pacific Ocean. And my dad is from Texas, so I live in Houston now, but I was born in Atlanta. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been training for 20 plus years, and I'm here in Xela, Guatemala, studying at a place called Yoga House Ashtanga, hoping to progress in my practice. I'm a student at the University of Houston downtown, and right now I'm international. I'm working on a nonprofit organization and working with several education programs, and hopefully in collaborations with other NGOs.
I mean, hello. How are you doing today? And how is busy? So wait, okay. So, I mean, that was everything. You gave me a bunch. Let's go with, because you just mentioned off a bunch of things. What got you into jiu-jitsu?
I was studying at a Kung Fu dojo, at a Kung Fu studio with Francis Fong, Sifu Francis Fong in Atlanta. And I was 5 or 6 years old when we really started training, my brother and I. We were in swimming, and so my parents were like, one more sport, let's add it. Personally, I think that martial arts adds a lot of like discipline and self-confidence. And I think that's what my parents were trying to instill in us. And so when a group of jiu-jitseros came in, a group of guys from Brazil, they were teaching us basic jiu-jitsu. They called it the worm, right? So the idea was, for anyone who does jiu-jitsu and knows about jiu-jitsu, we were practicing guard, right? So if the person is standing up in front of you, it's all about self-defense. And let's say you were thrown on the ground, you keep your feet on their hips and you don't let them pass around you. And I was I kind of liked it. I was kind of good at it. And specifically, this is what my parents told me. My mom started speaking to the guys. They spoke a little bit of Spanish, and being immigrants to the United States, my mom and them really got along. And so they invited my brother and I to their gym. So my brother and I first started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in these really small studios. Velocity was one of them with the Azumkau brothers. And it was literally in a basement. It was just me and my brother with Rafael Azumkau. And then from there, we just started getting introduced to more jiu-jitsu gyms. And I've trained with fighters like Douglas Lima, Diego Saraiva, and these guys are pretty big right now in Bellator and UFC. And so I just have been inspired to continue training my whole life. So even when I moved from Atlanta, I continued my training. And now here in Xela, actually, I met a grappler, an international grappler by the name of Giovanni Piedrasanta. And he's starting his own jiu-jitsu program here. So I had the honor, and it was literally perfect timing. I was here a week before he started the gym. So I just kind of jumped in and started helping with the program. And my jiu-jitsu, it just keeps improving. And the owner of Yoga House had the jiu-jitsu program here in the Yoga House where we do yoga. We would set up these like tatami whenever we were ready to train. And I've had the privilege of being able to go to Antigua with the owner of the gym and get like the official tatami. So we've got the page on Google. It's G Team Xela, and we're now on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And I can't wait to see how the gym progresses. So when I come back to Xela next year after my trip to the East, I'm going to help out with the program further with possibly their kimono program, their yoga program. And it's just been an honor. It's really been a privilege.
Very cool. That's amazing. So something that you did as a kid that kept you moving in your life and has kept you progressing through your life has been that. The second thing that seems to be something that is very close to you is helping others and doing stuff with non-government organizations. So for those who are watching who want to find out how to get involved or be involved, or like I'm super impressed with the fact that you're like traveling to the Far East. You're going to be walking India. You're going to be doing all these things. Like, how do you get these things paid for? How do you get the money to do this? Like, who pays for that? Yeah.
So luckily, I actually had a benefactor that I met through All Hands and Hearts. This last year, I donated over $500 to the All Hands and Hearts program for the volunteers. I studied psychology and behavioral wellness. So a big part of why I went into this organization was not only to really help other people in need after natural disaster, which was just phenomenal. It was such a great experience, but it was to meet the volunteers, because what I was interested in was who is the type of person that goes into this environment, who puts themselves into natural disasters, humanitarian crisis, and helps other people. I mean, that fascinates me. And I've met so many people through All Hands and Hearts, people that went to Turkey, to Ukraine. These are people ranging from all different ages, all different backgrounds, international. I mean, it was exactly the environment that I was looking for. And it's really amazing, Paul. It's beautiful. When you go out there, it's like these people have such strong characters and good hearts. And you kind of forget that you're in a natural disaster area or in a crisis area because the people are so positive, and we're really keeping a positive mindset. And so for me, when I went into All Hands and Hearts, I started developing relationships with the volunteers. And one of the volunteers in specific actually donated to EarthThreads because they cannot travel international right now. And so they donated to me the funds to be able to go to Nepal. And this is what they told me. They said, look, the ticket is this much, XXX. We're just going to go ahead and give you 500 extra. So I'm actually going to pay them back for that, half of what they donated to me. But they gave me extra. They were like, just stay for a few months, do what you want to do some socio-cultural studies. And so that's what they did. They donated to EarthThreads so that I could go to the program for 1 month in Nepal with All Hands and Hearts, and then stay for 3 extra months. And then during those 3 extra months, I'm a part of an au pair service. An agency called Education Edu Pair contacted me in China, and they connected me with a family in Xian Xi, right near Inner China.
So how did that happen? Like, you don't speak any Chinese at all, right?
Not too much. Pero Ali Nepali bolchu. I speak a little Nepali, but not really much Chinese. I'm studying.
So then that's the question. Like, how did? Granted, there's organizations and stuff like that, like you mentioned, but how did you get connected? Who found you? Like someone called you and said, "Hey, do you want to go to China?" And you were like, "Yeah, all right."
It's quite
Basically?
literally. Yeah, basically. Well, there's a really high demand, and if anyone is interested, Paul, I hope you don't mind. My information. I think you have the links.
I have in the everything that we sent to each other back and forth. It's the whole entire what's it called? I can't even think now. It's your entire bio. Everything that you had written to me in the email, which was, "Hi, my name is Camila." That whole thing, plus everything you sent me this morning, is on. It's all there. So your social links, the talking points, your EarthThreads event, all of that, and then the part that you wrote before that, which is, "Hi, my name is Camila. This is my Instagram and my Facebook," is all that. It's all there. So the thing that's cool about this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, please continue. As of this morning,
the thing that's cool about this thing that I'm using, which is called Steamyard, is that it immediately promotes or populates this on. I think I'm on. Let me look. I can look real quick. I'm on. Let's see. We're on Facebook, my profile. Facebook, Facebook, my fan page, then Facebook, my Best Magic Videos page, which has like 35,000 followers on it. Then after that, we're on YouTube Live, LinkedIn, and I've been trying for like a week now to get onto Rumble and to also get onto Kick. So, and then the other thing I'm doing is something called Podbean. And that allows you to promote your podcast into Apple and Spotify. So you use both. There's this little system that you can like throw them all out there. So what's really cool is that everything that we write on the bio becomes the description of the video. And so if anybody searches you, anything that we talked about today, basically that's in that bio, is going to pop up. And so somebody will see that video on YouTube, on Google, when they search your name in the future. That's what I love about it. But so you were saying about your links. Is that because you wanted to share how to get into this? Like if somebody wanted to do it?
Yes. First, I want to ask. I'm in a community home right now, so I just want to ask if any of the background noise is.
You're fine. Yeah, it's understood. It's understood. Don't worry, please. Like, I think the fact that it's. And I've said this before, that this show is as raw as it is just the antithesis of what the show is all about, right? It's all about trying to be very real and share other people's journeys. That's the whole point of this. So okay, so what was the first thing that you did in your life that was like a form of like an NGO, working for a non-government organization or working for some kind of charity, where you were like, hey, this is what I want to do for a living. I want to travel around the world. I want to help non-government organizations. Like, what put you on that path to then take you to school to study psychology, to then, get you to where you are today on some level?
To be God honest, the first memory I ever had of wanting to work in nonprofit, when I even thought this could be a career for me, was when I was 10 years old. I was on my driveway. I had a friend group. They were Tibetan monks that lived in Atlanta, and they were very kind to my brother and I, so that inspired me to want to study geography and social studies and the conflict right now in Tibet with the Chinese occupation. So I was very sympathetic towards that cause. And I kind of started to move towards not wanting to gain material wealth. I knew that I knew I had this almost panic attack, and I don't really know how. Just through how do you call that word? Just through association with this group of young Tibetan monks, which I actually later learned through a Tibetan meditation center, where a group of students also studying at Emory University, they would walk back and forth between YMCA and the temple and their home, and they'd pass by our house. So when we saw them dribbling or heard them coming down the road or saw them in their robes, my brother and I would run over there and say hi to them. And so they started introducing us into their homes, and they showed us sand mandalas that they would do in front of their living room. So something about transcendental meditation kind of just like rubbed off on me. And I remember I was about 10 years old, and I started to recognize that, that song, money is the root of all evil. I was like, okay, so greed is a root of
Sorry about that. Go ahead. Root is go ahead.
Is a root cause for suffering in the world, whether it's the lack of it or the implications of gaining wealth. For example, there's a stigma against capitalism because it seems that people will gain their wealth at the expense of other people through exploiting the underdog or the smaller groups. And so I was not interested in finding myself in the future wanting to gain money, at the expense of other people or even at the expense of my own health. And so what I started to realize at a very young age was that I wanted to help the world. And the way to do that was to go into nonprofit, and that the money would come and that I did not have to chase it. And later on in the future, I would realize that mentality was known as the law of attraction, that if I wanted to manifest wealth in the world, not just for me, but for others, then that process would be through nonprofit, volunteer, organizational work, working with other people. And it's really funny because I never really tried to develop these ideas, peace of mind was always a very important thing. And it's so funny to watch how this has developed on its own. So EarthThreads International it's kind of staying rooted to like what I believed in when I was 10, connecting other people.
That's a question. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but what is EarthThreads International? Is that your thing? Did you start that, or how did you get involved?
Yes, I founded EarthThreads International and the Kamiji Foundation in 2019.
So that is yours?
Yes.
Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa. Okay. Step back a bit. Let's take a tick back. Is it a 501c3? What is this whole thing?
Not yet. Ooh. I don't have. I'm completely unofficial at the moment. I collect donations, and 100% of it, I don't keep any percentage of it, goes exactly towards the actually established charities and nonprofits. So all I do is fundraise privately and independently for other organizations that are doing the work. So, for example, I've worked with organizations like Polaris Project, San Felipe Children's Foundation. I've worked with the Star of Mission in Houston. And so until I get established, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So when you do this, are you putting on an event? Are you doing a walk? Are you, what's the access point for people to connect from whatever you're doing to that place? And how does that happen usually?
Events, and so during COVID, I actually did do a walk. I did Walk the Talk, which was it was going to be a 600-mile walk through the Badlands of North and South Dakota. But I got really sick in Guernsey, Wyoming, and I ended up getting stuck in that town for like 4 or 5 days, and I was in the hotel for like another 5 days. It was ridiculous. So I didn't actually get to do the walk, but I was able to fundraise for San Felipe. Well, that was for Polaris Project. I raised a little over $400 for the Polaris Project, which is an anti-human trafficking organization. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm like almost taken aback by like the doing of it all. If you know what I mean, right?
If I can be completely honest with you, my number one inspiration was the music community in Houston, the reggae community. As a musician and as a person, and personally as an event coordinator, I was inspired a lot by groups like Sobolo and the Philosophers, and even like you guys at Union Tavern. So my first event in 2019 was Be the Change You Wish to See. That's the dream for the 2020s. And I actually, if I can take the opportunity, today is Dia de los Muertos here in Central America, and I know that a lot of people in Texas and Southwest United States are celebrating this also. So my friend passed away in, my friend passed away in 2018, and so the following year on his birthday I threw the first event, which was Be the Change You Wish to See. That's the dream for the 2020s. And I established the Kamishi Foundation, and so all of my charity work and all the nonprofit work that I've been doing has been through this memory of somebody who impacted me so much. And that's when I had that reggae show at LaGrange. And ever since then, I've been having music events. And actually, this next one for this year, the event is going to be at Caoba Farms. But EarthThreads was doing another independent private fundraising online and in person. I was working with All Hands and Hearts for 3 months in Vermont and in Florida, and I raised money for the program. So not specifically for one group like in Florida or in Nepal or in the Philippines, but literally for the entire organization, which will funnel the funds into the care that they give for the volunteers. This weekend, though, I have an event at Caoba Farms, which will be fundraising for an individual family, which was inspired by the owner of G Team Xela. This young man showed a lot of compassion towards this one individual who lives with a disability here in Xela or in Antigua. And so I decided to get in contact with Caoba Farms, and it just so happens that he sells jewelry and artisan work. It just so happens that organizations have already been working with this one individual through Caoba Farms. So they were more than happy to throw this event literally within less than 2 weeks. So it's through events, through social media, things like that. And if you find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or even on YouTube and Instagram, you can always find information of what I'm doing. My link tree on Instagram takes you to my blog. And yeah, and I'm also, if you don't mind, Paul, I wanted to tell you, as of this morning, I was contracted by Edu Pair to find other teachers, basically other people who are interested in traveling internationally to China, sponsored by host families to teach about Western culture or wherever they're coming from, if it's from Europe or wherever they're coming from. So if I can share that information with you, I would be more than happy to help anyone find their host family in China.
So, I mean, that's it right there. Let me do that one right now. I'm going to take a 2-second break and do because we're right at the mid-show area, whatever it is. So for those people who are out there in the world right now who are like, hey, I want to know how to do some of this stuff, the answer is ask Camila. If you want to go to China, she is an ambassador now to help people go to China. So if you want to go to China, if you want to go, I'm not sure how long you have to go live there or whatever it is. I'm sure that if you talk to Camila, she can help you understand that. Did you say 3 months?
Yes. Contracts anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to 12 months. You can even go for 1 month. It all depends on compensation.
Okay, and so how much do you get paid?
So for each contract, if you go from between 2 and 3 months, it can be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 USD. If you stay longer for 3 months, you can receive anything up to 1,500 to $2,000. I would definitely get in contact with the agency. And
now you're talking about for the entire time. The entire time you're getting paid like $2,000, so it's not a ton of money.
Well, they actually directly deposit it into your account so that you can travel to the host family. So in my case, for instance, I'll be in Nepal and I can only go for 1 month, which is why they contracted me. I'm going to be visiting a family in Inner China, and they want me to teach English as well as Western culture to their daughter while she's on vacation. And so for the spring festival, we'll be actually going to her family in Inner Mongolia. So things like that. And so the agency has me contracted internationally because I can only dedicate a month to 2 months at a time in China. But they really are interested also in people who can dedicate anywhere from 3 to 6 months up to 12 months. And they will deposit for the ticket.
So what they pay you for is basically your travel there and back, but you're not getting paid anything while you're there.
They will give you allowances. So the family is completely independent in regards to like allowances, but the agency will also, especially if you express a need, they will give you monthly stipends. They will give you resource money for food. They also offer education programs while you're there, travel, pocket money for traveling. They literally told me basically come with nothing. Like you don't need clothes, you don't need anything. Just like come here and we'll give you what you need. And honestly, if I can say this as honestly and from my heart as possible, with no offense meant or intended, I think that so many children around the world would benefit from people from all over the world who just want to share their experience, because a lot of what EarthThreads stands for is an international connection between us all, that we are one global community, and that together we can really make a difference in the lives of our children, the next generation, but also what's going on right now. Like I said, be the change you wish to see. That's what we can do right now in this decade, in this time, right now.
Yep.
In this era.
Yeah, I want to take a moment to mention, like, to all of those people who watch now or are watching later, that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to even be quote unquote legit. Like, you don't have a 501c3. You're just this 20-something-year-old woman who just has this goal and this ideology, and I'm going to go do this thing and let me see what happens from it. And even if you're not making massive contributions of $20,000-$30,000, but you're making contributions of $500, you're getting people to come together and understand these ideas and see these things. And even if it's only 20 people, it's 20 people. And when you show up to it, right, and when you show up to a nonprofit and you're like, yo, I put together this event and this is what I'm doing, and I want to do the same thing for you. And granted, it's not a lot of money, but I'm doing something. Totally. And that's all that matters in the end,
Totally. Yeah. And I 100%. Noticed it. I'm sorry?
No, I'm just saying 100%,
Like what I realized was, setting goals for myself little by little. I call it poco a poco, paso a paso, little by little, step by step. That was my motto during COVID when I went to Wyoming, that everything is little by little, step by step, even whether it's a physical journey, whether it's, overcoming a disability, whether it's learning something new, or doing something big. If you do it little by little, step by step, and just get yourself going, like get the ball rolling, then anything can happen. Anything is possible. But if you never try, then what can come from never trying, And thank you so much. I really appreciate that confirmation, because I hope one day to see it.
It's just true. Yeah, it's just true, it needs to be recognized when it's something that's recognized, right? When you do something you should be recognized for it on some level, and so I don't know what that was. There's a big message here that came through. There was like this long. I think it's kind of. Yeah, it was in Spanish, but it seems a bit scammy, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete the comment.
Please excuse me.
Yeah, you're fine, but it seemed very much like I read most of it, and it was like, I saw your profile, and God told me to reach out to you, and I have this disease, and I need 886,000 euros or something. I'll give you, I have money and I want to give it to you. You can keep a percentage. I didn't read much more after that.
I hope he gets what he needs. I hope he gets what he needs.
Yeah, so I love this comment here from Brandy. She says, nothing ventured, nothing gained, which is 100% true, you know. Like if you're not going after it in some way. And I love the fact that you, Camila, what a great story to tell people that it doesn't have to be a large sum of money. It doesn't have to be these huge events. I mean, granted, that's what you want to build to, and that's what you're looking for in the long run. But what it comes down to is there's so much going on in the world and so many things happening all over the place, right? That when one person does take the time and they do reach out to a nonprofit, which doesn't get a lot of help, who doesn't have, a lot of things going on for them, that when someone says, hey, I'm in Houston and I'm going to put on an event and I really want to use y'all's nonprofit, and can I use your, logos, and can I do this and can I do that so that I can promote it? And then they're like, their eyes light up. They're like, oh, someone's going to do something for us, because most people don't know that most nonprofits have a hard time because there's so many nonprofits in the world, and unfortunately the ones that get the help are the ones that don't need it, like the Susan G. Corman Foundation, which has millions of dollars and gets millions of dollars a year. They really don't need the promotion. To
be completely honest with you, I feel like everyone has this stress to want to help other people and to help charities. And so for me, being able to donate to these charities is it's super rewarding. I think you were saying something earlier and I kind of forgot what I wanted to mention, but I feel like actually I remember it was that I realized that the world has big problems, when actually Ashton Kutcher inspired this a lot in me, because I saw that he was using his platform as an actor to be able to fundraise and bring awareness to human trafficking. And that stresses me out as a woman, as a person, as a human. I was devastated to know that human trafficking still exists in the world, especially in Houston, it being one of the largest ports in the world, where, believe it or not, people, we get scared of knowing the truth, because then we get worried, well, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. And so we don't talk about the problems. And so for me, it was, I'm going to do one small thing to be able to help. And that is to bring awareness, to have people look at the problem. So it's even if we're doing this on a spiritual level, on a conscious level, hey, we're going to shine a light on this problem, even if it's that you don't donate any money, even if it's just that you see this, if you see this post or you hear my words and you start thinking about it, anti-human trafficking, then we'll be able to make a change in the world where we're able to actually live free. I know. And so to manifest a world that we can all live in together, it requires looking at the problem, bringing light and being the light. And so EarthThreads is a small organization that is working with larger charity organizations, because trust me, I have goals where one day I'm having gala events with large large donations for environmental awareness. I wanted to mention organization. Yeah.
I was going to mention earlier, when you said, I don't want a lot of money and I don't want a lot of things and this, that, and the other, and another mention is that you have this, this, I don't know if it's all people that you feel this way. It's a very blanketed statement to say something like that about you, but, in the sense that, on some level, at least from what I heard from you, it feels as though you feel that money is evil. And
Well, I think that money, the way that money is used, is either good or evil, right? It depends on how we use the wealth that we've been given in this world and what our intentions are. So for me, I knew money was going to come, but I'm not interested in on a personal level. Like I knew like I'm telling you, I was on my driveway and I thought one day I'm going to have a lot of money. But it's not going to be for me. It's not so that I can wear the most expensive clothes. Actually, by the way, this necklace is from the jeweler, from the artisan salesman. So like, it's like, where are we spending our money? On food that is good for us, on things that are good for the environment. Like we have the power to make change, and money is one of those things. Prosperity doesn't have to be a bad thing, you know? And so I think that I have the intention of having money, but I want to know what my intentions are for, and I want to be ready so that when I have that money, it's not for selfish or greedy intentions, but it is so that I can help build a beautiful world for myself and my generation.
Why I wanted to clarify that, because I felt as though, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, and I feel as though many people have a thought of what being wealthy is or rich is, and I don't think it's necessarily the way that it actually is.
I think that change can be done if we put the funds together, because you know we need money for the equipment and the tools and the towns. But like I feel wealthy when I have a nice cup of tea and good food and good company. You know, when my body is healthy, when my mind is focused. Yeah, totally.
Sure, of course. And that's also part of the process, right? I mean, it's also part of trying to find your direction, your way, because everybody's vessel is different. Everybody's size of their vessel is different as well, and how we fill that vessel is how we're able to share with others. You know. And so you've taken this very behind the scenes approach on some level, so that you can instead of when I say that, I mean that like you're in the trenches for real, because you're really going to these places, you're really trying to experience this for yourself,
I believe
so
it's
that
on
you
the individual. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I realize that such a big feat in the world can only be done on an individual level. And I mean that. So if I can make the change on an individual level to be healthy, to be centered, to be compassionate, well then what if I can share that and see that in others? And each person does that. Each person on an individual level has that intention. I mean, I really think that's how we're going to reach the world. And I'm not the first. I know I'm not the first person who has had that vision. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I think that whenever you go to any seminar or you go to any self-help guru or anything like that, the first thing they say to you is, what is it that you want to do for others? Because as soon as you start doing for others, you start to recognize that that's really what life is all about. And it's funny because on episode 24, somebody who's actually sponsoring the show right now, Jacob, he is an Aramaic scholar. And yeah, it's a really good episode. And one of the things he mentioned was like when you look at the alphabet of Hebrew and how it's placed out. First, you have this thing which is Aleph, which is the first A, right? But it's also representative of God. And then you have this thing called Bet, and then there's a Gimel.
Yeah.
Right, well, it's Aramaic. It's Aramaic and Hebrew, right? But the idea is that the letters, the first one is with a wall on this side. The God's right behind you, but there's a wall there, and then there's an opening. And then the next letter is somebody kind of like, it looks like a hand asking. And so in the first 3 letters of the alphabet, it's like if you have God in your life, you'll recognize that the first action that you should do is give to others in need.
Wow.
And that's just like, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, the podcast that I did with him was absolutely amazing. And I want to do another one with him, hopefully soon.
If I may,
he's sponsoring $50 a month. And then I had someone else who's sponsored for $200-something for the show. And that's how I got this started up with the Steamyard and everything else and broadcasting to as many people as we are. And so once again, and it all started from, hey, here's my cell phone. I'm in my backyard at my friend's that I'm staying at, and I want to do something. And I wanted to do the good morning thing that I did every day for so long, but I wanted it to be more. Like, I wanted it to be heavier than just me coming on and, hey, today we have the word of the day is, and that's great. And it had great connection and successions with others where they were like, whoa, you're like in my head, or how are you connecting so deeply, and all of these ideas. But what really hit home for me was when people were so into wanting to be part of it in some way, shape, or form, even like yourself, when you were not able to make it and you came to me and you were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, and you went out of your way to come back to me and be like, hey, I really wanted to, do the show with you, and I really wanted to apologize. And you went like through this whole thing, and it's like, because for me, for like the last 3 days, I've had nothing but cancellations, and then I had a friend of mine who came in on a post that I'd written, and she's like, this is Betty Jo Jacks, by the way, but she says, I used to, when I first opened my business, I had tons of cancellations, and hell, I even have cancellations today. And I used to take it on me like it was my fault, or they didn't like me, or this, that, and the other. And she goes, and then I just realized it's just life, and that, like, right now, this whole thing's like teaching you to just let it be and let it be a flow in your life. If you're going to do this thing, do it and try and do it daily, like you said. But if it doesn't happen, then don't fret. You've done an amazing thing already with 45 episodes in such a short time, so like, just keep moving, and that's been the beauty of the thing. So, and then the other part of the thing that I've really, really kind of been blown away with is meeting people that I already knew, like yourself. Like, we've had mad conversations on the phone. We've talked about all kinds of stuff, so to have you here and talk to you and find out about things that I didn't know. And I've said this before, it's like getting to, but it's more than that. It's getting to, the analogy is getting to meet the writer of the book, and then getting to hear their version of the book that they're writing as they're writing it. And it's like, whoa, this is very cool. Yeah, no, it's a very cool experience. And so that's why I like to go through the, like, how did you get inspired and where did this come from? And because it's all these little pieces that end up showing like who you are as a person. You know what I mean? And so like, it's like, there's like these beautiful little like, and then I've asked people in the past, like, who's your hello? Who's the person who like introduced you? And you kind of mentioned that, like, on some level, there were these men that would walk by every day, and there was like this idea of this weird universal thing that was like, no, you need to be this person. And so as a child, nature nurture is gonna like lead you up this path.
Totally.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
it's
always
very
the
cool.
influence of other people. It was these group of young Tibetan monks and everybody in martial arts. Every single person I ever met in the gyms, from ground up was telling me, do your best. And as a girl also, especially in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there weren't many. So they were always encouraging my brother and I. And that's what my mom told me. My mom said, Camila, you can't imagine how many countless people I've met that have encouraged you and your brother, over the years. You're absolutely right. And it's funny how the universe just kind of put me there. It wasn't that my family ever had any intentions of, I think that every family has like the hope that their children will do something great, but I think that each individual has a purpose that they're born with, and that when we really trust in the universe, I mean that, trust in the universe, trust in the unknown, in the uncertain, and just like you said, keep moving forward, amazing things will happen, and our true abilities, our true purposes, our true potential will come out, and it will manifest.
Right. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's what I always have called living in a faith-based life. Like you
Totally.
don't, it's faith-based. You are literally like, I don't need money. I don't need a car. I don't need a house. I don't need any of these things. I am blessed, and I will continue to be blessed. And
I say that a lot.
watch me as I walk forward in my blessings. And
confirm it, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's more than just confirmation, right? And this has been a running theme, and also in a lot of the shows. One of the episodes was a woman. Her name was Larissa, and she was telling me, I believe it was her story. And she was telling me the story about how she wanted to be in radio. And so she started hanging out with a bunch of people at all the different radio events that they were in, that she listened to that radio station in particular. And so she starts hanging out, and then all of a sudden someone says to her, hey, I need someone to do this for me, and you're here, so you're the one who's going to do it. And she's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, I got you. I'll teach you what to do. Just do it. And that got her a job. And then that led her to another job, which then led her to working with one of the biggest radio DJs in Houston.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, but it comes down to not only just manifesting, but being part of the manifestation.
Absolutely. And showing up, right? Just being there. And I think that one thing that I started to have, like, that really gave me a lot of conviction in what I was doing was the experience of it. Just being there, no matter how small it was, no matter how successful it was, just like if I do it every year and I'm consistent, then I'm gaining experience. So even if I'm working with $200, $300 or small contracts, one day, all these little experiences, kind of like building a portfolio. I called it my platform. Literally, this was my foundation. Will be I'll be reaching goals I couldn't even imagine. But the experience of what I did at the very beginning, with all the failures, with all the mistakes, with all the doubt, it will pay off. It will be beneficial.
Sure. I mean that's part of the journey, that's part of like everybody's journey. And I think that that's also one of the things that you learn when going to like a seminar or one of these things. It's like the reason that you're not succeeding is you and nothing else. And it's most likely based on a mental barrier that was placed there by somebody else that you're not even aware of many times. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Many times people will do that to you, and you're just kind of taken aback by like, how did that happen? How did I believe in that for so long when
it's fear conditioning? A lot of the way that our governments run is through fear conditioning. But if we can live from a place of love, I mean, there is nothing stronger than love. Our own self-confidence, for instance, and our love for ourselves can be that protective, that protective shield that gives us the confidence to do what we want to do, and to not doubt ourselves, to not hold ourselves back. I think the worst crime that we could commit is to hold ourselves back. Yeah, because time is such a beautiful gift that we have, and if we allow somebody else to rob that of us, to allow a society, for instance, that might be rooted in fear and in conditioning to control us, then
Right.
we're robbing ourselves and honestly robbing everything else in the future that we could possibly help. We're robbing others from ourselves, of ourselves, because we are the gift.
Right, of course. Yeah. It's an unfortunate, there's a statement that people say, like, hurt people, and it's so real, because those people don't even know that they're doing it. They don't recognize that they are racist. Like, they just don't get it. They're like, or they just don't get that they are in some way unknowledgeable about what could actually be, or what could be.
I think when we're self-aware of our own needs, we begin to recognize the needs of others. But if we're not aware of the love that we deserve, or the love that we can give, to ourselves and to others, then it's difficult to see that in something else. It's difficult to see something in outside of ourselves if we cannot see it within ourselves.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, it's
a lot of what I see here in Guatemala is a love in the people. But because, Guatemala, literally in my lifetime, has come out of a civil war. It was in December of 1996, and my birthday is in December of 1996. When my mom brought me back to Guatemala right after the Civil War ended, I was only 6 or 7 months old, and my family was so happy to see me. They were always encouraging me, and I think that Guatemala has a hope for the future. I mean, you see so many within the last 26 years, you see so many initiatives for environmental control, environmental awareness, public awareness. There right now in Guatemala, and I think I mentioned this in one of our talking points, Guatemala is going through a protest, and almost all of the roads have been blocked. And so economy has been really affected in small towns because the roads are blocked. I mean, for me to travel to Lago Atitlan from here in Xela, Quetzaltenango, it took us an entire day of hitchhiking and walking to get the tatami for the new gym. And on the way, I stopped in small towns near Sololá, and I had my ukulele, and literally within 45 minutes of walking on this road after the car dropped us off at the first blockade, a group of people said musica. They started pointing at my ukulele and they wanted me to play music, and it was one of the most profound experiences of my life. I ended up playing 3 times on the road from Xela, Quetzaltenango on microphone, and it was amazing. It was so beautiful. It's like all of a sudden music brought everyone together. Like I started playing, and then I'd look up and there would be like everyone around in a circle just watching. And I saw these looks in people's faces that I recognized in myself, like this look of inspiration and of hope. And I realized that that's what's going on here in Guatemala. And I'd love to send you a video just so that you can see it. I think I posted it. I did post it on social media. I said, if I can just ask for one thing, it's peace within each and every one of us, because the change is happening, and the change is happening within ourselves. So if we can do it together, then I genuinely believe that we're looking within a lifetime the change that this country and the world has been waiting for. And it was really, like I said, it was a privilege to be a part of this experience. We were walking with one of the members of the UN here in Guatemala, from Guatemala City. He was trying to get back to Guatemala City, so we accompanied him to the lake where his car was parked, where he managed to get from Guatemala City, the capital, to the lake. and he would talk on the mic. And my friend, the owner of the gym, was like, dude, get up on the mic, go talk. I mean, so many things since I've been here. We went to a cinema for a yes, and they actually asked me to play on the microphone in three towns, but unfortunately in one of them we had to book it really quickly because we were able to get a ride, and cars coming back and forth were far and few in between. So I didn't get to do the last town, but in two towns they asked me to play on the mic, and it was so beautiful to see the look. People started clapping. I mean, it was really beautiful because, as a Guatemalan American, sometimes, I felt a little bit disconnected from my culture, especially in the United States. Really, Texas is only just now, within the last 15 years, like a huge part of the University of Houston downtown and their Latino studies is to encourage the youth to embrace the Hispanic culture and their roots. And a lot of them will express that they don't get that from their families because they were forced to be westernized. So for me to be able to share this initiative, because it's a conversation I've been having here in Guatemala for a long time, La Gran Iniciativa de Guatemala, the Grand Initiative of Guatemala, which is to encourage a community where the quality of life for everyone is achieved. Doesn't matter your ethnical background, your family, your economic class. Children have the right to grow up in streets where they are not attacked by stray dogs, or where that they don't see trash on the ground all the time, that the rivers aren't so polluted that they can't go to the water and go swim, that they have running water, electricity. Even here in Xela, there are my friends in the gym who say, yeah, we didn't have water today, so we had to go to the gym, or we had to go to our family's house across town just to take a shower. So I think that the government, a lot of what people are protesting right now is the corrupt government and how funds are not being properly allocated around the country. It's not being dispersed properly. It's only going to areas where
Camila, that's around the world, unfortunately.
Exactly.
From all the stuff that I'm seeing in the world right now, there's a consolidation happening. That the rich are and the wealthy, those who already are wealthy during COVID alone became 60% wealthier than they were before COVID. And that's a real statistic. And the reason for that is because so many small businesses were destroyed that these companies were able to come in and just swoop in and buy real estate and corporate holdings for pennies on the dollar because they had no other choice. They were out of business. They were done.
Yeah.
So
I think that NGOs are one of the only ways that we can make the change.
Look, non-government organizations are a beautiful thing, and the sad part of the story here, and I'm not trying to deny what you're doing, I want you to do what you're doing, is that the infrastructure to run something like you're talking about, like for instance, I used to know the people from People to People International. It's a huge organization, and it even had Hallmark, the company that makes postcards, or not, cards, for birthday cards. And they were a huge sponsor of People to People International, and that went out. And so they had mad money behind them. And they were doing amazing things with like landmine awareness, which there's, I think there's something in the number of like 200,000 or plus more landmines around the world that are active landmines where kids are playing soccer every day. And the stories are absolutely horrendous of kids who were, in a field and not knowing any better, and their leg gets blown off because they were running around trying to kick a soccer ball around, So, they do an amazing organization that goes out around the world to help kids with amputees and help them with different types of prosthetics and all kinds of stuff. And they go out of their way to hire ex-military bomb finders to go out there and do this thing where they take the bombs Yeah, and
Why would the
demolition.
government not do this? Why would the government not be responsible for what they
Unfortunately, they are, and many times the government doesn't fully commit to what they say they're going to do. And this is governments around the world, including the United States, including what's happening right now in Israel. For instance, in the Afghani war in the 80s, we supplied what later becomes ISIS. And we supplied them with guns. We supplied them with Sidewinder missiles and everything that they needed to take apart the Russians who were at the time invading. But we didn't want to be involved with them because we were in the middle of a Cold War with Russia. And so if we had been involved, then we would have had to pay for all the hospitals and schools and colleges that were destroyed during that time. And when they came to us, when they asked us for the money, we threw up our hands and we said, we don't know what you're talking about. And 10 years later, 9/11 happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of in Guatemala, there are tens and thousands of people rushing the border. I mean, Paul, the number of immigrants that I have seen.
And I'm not talking about American border. I'm talking about the Guatemalan border.
So here in Guatemala, you have Tecumuman, which is right there on the border of Guatemala and Mexico. And one of our friends, actually, the owner of the yoga house, went to Tecumuman to visit family. And he said that the line, people will wait there for days trying to get across the border. I mean, it's supposed to hold an occupancy of like 1,000 people, but there are thousands of people there, and from everywhere too. People from the Middle East, people from Africa, people from South America and Central America, and it's filthy. I mean, these people are experiencing terrible human conditions. And personally, if for instance, like, there's so much disorganization in these countries in South and Central America because of disruption that happened back during the Cold War in the 1950s, 60s, 70s in Guatemala for the exploitation of the resources for Western corporations, then we created the problem. So we have politicians that are trying to convince us to, we need to solve this problem with people on the border. But it's like, wait, but we created it. So it's like, why can we not also create the solution where people are not forced to migrate? Because, I mean, migration is a very natural process of human life. And to try to deny that, I think, is to deny the inevitable. It's impossible. But one way we can solve that problem is by providing clean air and clean water here in Guatemala, making it so that education is accessible for children, that job opportunities are accessible to everybody. But really, there's a huge stigma. There's a classism, and I mean, this goes back hundreds of years, back to colonial times. The stigma against the indigenous people, for instance. This is a new conversation.
I mean, but that's part of the conversation. No, that's part of the conversation, which is like, a lot of the issues that we are seeing today, the culmination of those issues are in and of themselves what we're seeing happening in Israel today. It's in the end, it's, are you about being good or are you about being evil? Period. Like, Are you into evil things or are you into positive good things? And that's it, period.
It's times like this that we need to stand for what's right, not just what we think is right or what people tell us is right, but what do we see as right? When we see 20,000 children unaccompanied trying to find a place to live, what's right? I just don't think
the world's screwed up, Camila. The world is screwed up, Camila. I said the world is screwed up. The world is messed up right now. It's in a state of disarray, and to come back to another point you made, you say that people want to help, but they find themselves not doing so, or whatever it is. I think what it comes down to is that everybody is so overwhelmed in survival mode that they don't have the opportunity to even think about somebody else.
I agree completely. And I think that creates a dissonance. There's an avoidance to the problem. But if I can encourage anyone who feels that way, start with yourself. Love yourself. Give yourself and your body what you need. And when we start to do that, we really start to see through the illusion and break through the wall of disillusionment that we can't do something. Mm-hmm. I think it first starts with our individual health. And once we're able to take care of our own needs, we can then start extending ourselves. I saw this in a movie that some people, their circle and the people that they can help is very small. Maybe it's just themselves and then the immediate people around them. And then some people, they have larger groups, more people they can extend themselves to. And then some people, like my goal is to reach a mass group of people. And in order to do that, I have to be strong myself. And then I think that it's not that we are fixed to one person. Maybe one day I can only extend myself to one or two people. Maybe the next day I can extend myself to a few more, but I think that it's a process that we undergo as individuals. And I think that the one thing that we should not do is cover our eyes to the problem. I think that if we, like, for example, if you're in your room and you see a piece of trash on the ground, right? And you just keep leaving it there day after day after day. Well, that imprints in your psyche, that imprints on your mind, a disorganization. I think the Japanese really reference this a lot in feng shui, that when things are not organized in our environment, and we don't take the initiative to take care of our environment or take care of even ourselves. For instance, if I know I'm eating badly every day and I know this isn't good for me, but I'm just going to keep doing it and shutting off my mind to this thing that's not healthy to me, well, then how am I going to be able to look at a problem in the world and be able to even address it? But finally, let's say one day, for whatever reason, I pick up that piece of trash or I make my bed and I do something small for myself. I eat an alternative to something that's unhealthy for me, and I feel a little bit better that day. Well, then boom, right there, I reap the benefit on that individual choice. And so what happens? I do it again and I do it again. And then I make a habit out of it. And then that routine starts to build on itself. And so finally one day I kind of question, why did I ever let the disorganization build in my life? And then what happens is, guess what? You start walking into other people's rooms and you're like, hey man, there's a piece of trash on the ground. Can I help you pick it up? And hey, check this out. Look how easy it is for me to pick it up. That's how easy it is for you. But you know what? If you can't do that right now, it's fine. I'll keep doing it because I can do it. Because you know what? My room is clean. I cleaned my room this morning. I can help you clean your room right now. And then we just keep doing it. And then maybe one day that person's like, hey man, thank you for helping me. I think I got it from here. I think I can clean my own room. And that is like education initiatives, providing initiatives for other people. Like, hey, you know what? I know that right now you grew up, in a country or in a world where not all your needs were met all the time, that you were in a survival mode. So, I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean up your beach. Right? I want to do a beach cleanup in Champerico. And let's say, okay, I clean the beach for 5 miles, but I'm not just going to clean the beach. I'm also going to provide your municipal with the tools that it would need to have a job department so that maybe you can get the job and you can start cleaning the beach. But not just that, I'm going to provide education for your children as well. I'll do that on behalf of not only, for example, my background in this country, but for the country that I also live in now that's responsible for the disorganization in your country. And I'm not afraid to accept that because unfortunately I am a product of that. My mom was forced to leave Guatemala during the Civil War because as a German Guatemalan, she faced a lot of repercussions every day for just being who she was. So she sought out refuge in the United States. And so here I am, a Guatemalan American. I don't want to just turn a blind eye to the problems here in Guatemala or even the problems faced in the United States or the stigma against, North Americans. And so for me to go into Champerico clean up the beach, kind of like that beach cleanup that Saltwater Slide had in Corpus Christi. Clean up the beach, provide education initiatives for the children, which dude, there is, in Spanish we say, tenemos la gana. We have that encouragement. We have that want and desire and drive to do this. But I think that we just need to help one another. And then once we get the ball rolling, the communities come in, and we see this everywhere. We see this in Nepal, for instance. All Hands and Hearts provided an education initiative for women to learn masonry. And guess what? Now 12 women are certified in masonry, which is not only providing equal job opportunity, but it's also encouraging them to build their infrastructure in their own communities, which is also not, one thing that one criticism I've had for nonprofits is that it takes away, and that I've heard in other communities, is that it takes away from jobs in that area. But what I love about All Hands and Hearts is that they provided an education initiative to empower the people there to develop jobs and develop their own communities. So I think that, going back to that analogy, if we can help one another and recognize, okay, we got to clean up our own garbage, but at the same time, like you said, when we know that God is with us, we then extend our help to others and we give to others. I think that it just shines like a light. It just spreads.
Yeah, 100%. Man, Camila, you are a badass. You always have been. So look, for those who want to find you, who want to get in touch with you because they were interested, how do people find you? Is there a social media that you're on more often than not?
Definitely Instagram, camila.a.wilson. Unfortunately, I lost my access to earththreads.co, so I think I need to go back in and see if I can access that. I have a blog in the link tree, but also I want to share my WhatsApp, because if you can contact me directly, I can contact you to the different agencies and organizations I've been working with, like Edu Pair, All Hands and Hearts, and even now Advance Guatemala and Hug It Forward. So
awesome.
If I'm not sure how I can share that, my WhatsApp, my personal WhatsApp.
If anything, just share it with me, and then I'll put it in the post. But I think there's a lot, like I said, a lot of the links that you shared with me already, and then anybody who sees this can find you because you're tagged in the video. So I'm sure it's pretty easy to find you after that.
Email.
Yeah, exactly. Camila, thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. A lot of this has been on my mind. It's something I've always kind of kept with me, and to share it with you personally is so beautiful. And thank you for giving me the platform to do so, to extend it to others.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Camila, we'll see you soon. Okay. I'll call you. I'll call you soon. Either way.
I would love that. Thank you, Paul. And good luck with the rest of your podcast.
No doubt. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I've been trying to say this for 45 episodes. You got to watch each episode, because each episode is going to share a journey with you that's going to be amazing. Camila is exactly what I think all of us should be. Is somebody who is from the heart, is super real, and is just trying to share whatever amount of love she can. I mean, what else could you ask for? Not much. With that, my friends, please go out of the world, do something nice for somebody else. And if you can't do something nice for yourself, it does start with you. Number 2, don't get caught up in all the crazy stuff in this world, because if you do, then you end up crazy. That's not good. And number 3, if you would not mind, please like, share, subscribe, send this out to somebody who'd like to see it. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching. And I will see you all on the other side.